Good morning, everyone. So I welcome you all to this webinar session on design and analysis of multi-span PSC box girder bridge as per IRS bridge rules. I am Akshay Maga, structural engineer here at Midas IT. So today we will be looking modeling, analysis and design of complete multi-span PSC box bridge in Midas Civil. So beginning with my presentation flow would be as such. For the content of my presentation would be, first I will discuss about the overview, secondly material and the section definition, just by taking a typical example of multi-span bridge. So we'll proceed with how we can go with the geometry and the section assignment. Fourth, the construction stages group definitions as well as the support definitions. Then we will try to assign different static loads as well as different moving loads as per IRS bridge rules. Then we will see how we can formulate different construction stages in Midas Civil. And lastly, we will discuss about the results and how we can generate with the PSC design report. So talking about the overview, so why these box structures have been predominant in major viaducts. So as could be seen that in case of long elevated viaducts, which generally provide seamless connectivity as they create additional movement or the area without damaging any existing ground, so as to support your local transport systems. So there could be various other construction methodologies that are being adopted. So that would be segmental construction where your precast segment would be casted. So there is also balanced cantilever construction, right? So where your segment would be casted right from the pier edge and would be continued to the different piers, right? So the major advantage of these viaducts is that they can be easily constructed, and for such sections, for such bridges, majorly the box sections has been used just because it provides high torsional rigidity, right? So those are the most commonly used structures or the type of sections in the viaducts. So based on the feasibility of the construction, they have been adopted. So these are all the different construction methodologies as I explained. So first would be a segmental construction where your precast segment would be casted at a site, and then it would be brought at the bridge construction site and it would be lodged with the help of launching girder, and that would be finally erected. So we have these balanced construction techniques, so where your segment could be either precast or cast in situ. So they are being established using balanced cantilever technique where your segment would be casted right from the pier edge. And the other construction methodology includes your incremental launching, full staging, etc. So this would be our typical example problem for today, where I will be considering 3-span PSC box girder bridge of span of 40 meter, 45 and 40 meter, spanning total of 125 meter, where we will be having an entire width as 8.5 meter, giving a 7.5 clear carriageway width. So let's begin with the very first part for your modeling, that is your material and the section definition. So let us go to the program. Yeah. So this is the interface of Midas. So where as could be checked, so there are different tabs that are being streamlined in a modeling workflow as you proceed with the modeling. So the very first thing I can do is I will just save this particular project file as I begin with the very new file. So I will just create a separate folder over here, and I will just save this particular file as PSC box girder bridge. So I'll just save this particular file as PSC box girder bridge. So I'll just hit on save. So it will be automatically saved over here. So I'll just select this file option. I'll just give save. So I'll just give the name over here as PSC box girder bridge. So I'll just click on save. So automatically the project would be auto saved. Now the next thing is, before starting the project, I will just set my unit system to begin with. So I can just go to tools. Over here I can just select the unit system. Now here you can just set the working environment for which you need to work on for different types of units, such as for your length, force unit system, as well as the temperature. So I'll just select meter, kilonewton for force, and Celsius for my temperature. So I'll just click on OK. So I will just first begin with the material definitions. For that I will just go to Properties tab. So here you need to define with the two materials. One is your linear elastic material and second is your time dependent materials. So first, coming to the material properties, so I'll just click on material properties. So I'll just click on add. So based on the type of design, you will be selecting with the material standard as well as the grade of concrete as either the steel. So that will govern your type of design. So if I select with the concrete, so here you just need to provide with the two things. So first you will be entering what is your code which you are referring to. So here I can directly select with the Indian Railway standard for reinforced concrete. So I will just select IRS RC, and from the DB tab you can directly select the grade of concrete to be used. So I'm just selecting over here as M50 for my girder elements. So whatever the relevant properties for the material as per the code would be automatically taken by the program, as can be seen under this concrete tab. So I'll just click on apply. Similarly, I will add up one more material for my pier element. Similarly, selecting just by selecting the grade as M40. So I'll just click on apply. So I'll add the third material for my tendon. So I'm just selecting the type of design as steel. Again, I will just choose the code as Indian standard for steel. And from the database, I can directly give FE540. So as could be checked, so those material properties will be automatically taken by the program. So now if you wish to change these material properties, then you can at any point of time you can just select this standard to none. So now the properties would now be editable. So you can user define your own input, or else you have the third option, that is your user defined material property to input your user own material definitions, right? So for now I'll just select this as steel, and I will just select over here as IS Indian standard for steel and FE540. So I'll just click on OK. So I'll just close this. So now coming to the time dependent material properties, here you have the 4-step process, wherein first of all you will be defining the time dependent material property for creep shrinkage. So you'd be adding the time dependent function for your compressive strength, since your compressive strength is a function of time. So that would be again you need to define that in terms of with respect to the code. Now once those properties, independent material properties, have been defined, so we need to tell the program to which particular elastic material those properties have been linked. So those material link can be established using this time dependent material link function. And fourth, you just have to update the notional size of the member by using this change property option. So coming to the very first step, so coming to the creep shrinkage, I will just go to creep shrinkage. So I click on add. So over here I will just give the name as M50 creep and shrinkage, and from the code you can select the different codes for your time dependent material property definition. So I'm just selecting this over here as IRC 112. Then you need to enter the data required to generate your creep coefficient, such as your compressive strength of the concrete at the age of 28 days. So I'm entering this as 50 MPa, right? Again you need to be entering the relative humidity. You will be entering the notional size of the member. So we are entering these values to get your creep coefficient and the shrinkage strain values, right? So since I have not generated the geometry, so we need to provide the nominal notional size. Later on we will be updating those notional size independently, so that program will automatically take care of those element sizes. So here you just select the type of cement as normal cement, age of concrete at the beginning of shrinkage as I have given as 3 days. Now once I have given all these parameters, I can just hit on this show results. So automatically all the creep coefficient values for the respective start and end loading would be generated by the program, right? So similarly with the shrinkage strain values, so those would be automatically generated. So if you wish to check for the different loading conditions, then also you can just change the start or the end duration over here, and you can just hit on redraw. So automatically those values would be automatically shown by the program. So I'll just close this. So I'll click on OK. So I'll close this again. Now I'm coming to the second time dependent material property, that is your compressive strength. So I'll just hit on compressive strength, click on add. Now I'll give the name over here as M50 creep and shrinkage. Again I will choose the code as IRC 112. Now I'll be entering the mean compressive strength of the concrete at the age of 28 days, considering 10 MPa as my standard deviation. So I'm just entering this as 60 MPa to be my mean compressive strength. Again I will just select the type of cement to be normal cement, and I will just hit on this redraw graph. So I have defined this particular function for my compressive strength variation with respect to the time. So click on OK, click on close. Third step is to link this particular two time dependent material properties to the linear elastic material. So that can be established using this material link option. So just select the relevant time dependent material from the drop down list. So for crop shrinkage, so I'll just select M50 creep and shrinkage. Similarly for the compressive strength, I will just select the compressive strength property. Now from the assigned material list, so I'll just select for to which material these time dependent material properties are linked. So I'm just selecting M50, and I will just hit on add. So now this particular time dependent material properties would now be linked to M50 grade of concrete. So I'll just close this. So this completes my time material property definition. Now coming to the next part, that is your geometry and the section assignment. So in this session we will see how we can generate various PSC sections. So we will see how we can generate the PSC sections in Midas. So you can go to the structure tab. So we will see how we can generate the PSC sections. So come to properties tab. Over here, come to section properties. So I just click on add. So there are different section database where you can define different types of sections over here. So let's say DB user values, SRC combined, or the tapered value, or the composite sections. So there are different options that are there. So for us, we will be defining the PSC box sections. So I'll just go to this PSC tab. From the drop down list, you can just check. So there are various sections for the PSC assignment. So I will just select PSC 1 cell, 2 cell. Over here, I will just give the name as mid section. So now, in order to generate your section, so you need to provide what is your outer dimensions and what are your inner dimensions, looking at the bitmap image provided sideways, right? So you can consider this as your cross-sectional geometry, and with that, with the help of this cross-sectional geometry over here, you can try to input all this inner and outer dimensions. So as could be checked, so there are various denominations that are indicated against JO1, JO2. So these are nothing but the joints which are provided. So joint will help you to provide additional haunches into the cross section. So if you turn on any of the haunches, say for example, if I turn on JO1, the relevant dimensions that are associated with JO1, such as its depth and the additional width, that you will be able to enter over here. So that is the purpose of providing the joint on and off. So now in order to define this mid section, I will just turn on JO1, JI1, JI3 and JI5. Now here you can enter easily the outer and the inner dimensions. So I am entering this outer dimension over here. This is 0.2, then 0.3, then 0, then 2.5, then it is 1.5, 0.5, 0.5 again 2.25, 0.24, then 0.26, 0, 2.05, 0.71, 0.71, 0.2, 0.25, sorry, this is HO4, 1 is 0, this is 0, HI5 is 0.25, again this is 2.2, 0.7, this is 2.2, this is 1.932, and this is 0.7. So now once I enter all these dimensions, so as could be checked, the section would be generated in the viewer tab. So now in order to check your shear at the various critical locations, so you can just provide those location at different levels. So considering this, you can just turn on this auto. Let's program automatically calculate those thicknesses for your shear checks at the Z1, Z2 and Z3 locations, right? So now here you can just change the offset to center top. So since for the girder elements we will be going with the center top modeling. So now here you can check that the centroid has been displayed, and my red is my offset modeling which I am adopted for now. So in the show calculation result, you can just check the cross-sectional parameters that are generated by the program, right? So you can just click on OK, click on apply. So now as could be checked, when I hit on apply, one section would be automatically added over here, right? Now coming to the next section, that is your support section. So you can define your support section over here. Now keeping the dimensions as same for the outer section. Now here you just need to change the inner dimensions. So now here you can enter this as 0.44, 0.26, 0, this is 1.65, this is 0.71, this is 0.2, 0, 0.45, so this is 45, this is 2 again, this is 0.7, this is 2 again, 1.732, and this is 0.7. So now as could be checked, just by changing the inner dimensions, all the section would be updated automatically, keeping the other parameters to be same, as well as the offset as well the same. So I'll just click on apply, and third section is my diaphragm section. So I'll enter this as diaphragm. Over here I will just turn on only JO1, so I would not be requiring any additional joints just because of the solid section over here as my diaphragm section. So I'll entering this as 1, 0, this as 1, again 0, this as 1, 0.5, this as 0.5. Yeah, so this completes my diaphragm section definition, right? So I'll just click on apply. So I have defined 3 different sections. So in order to consider the transition between these sections, so I would be directly define using this taper tab. So I'll just go to this taper tab. Here I can directly select PSC 1 cell, right? So now where we will be requiring to define two sections. So where your geometry is changing from support to mid, and vice versa, where your geometry is changing from support to mid. Right. So first let me create for mid to support. Right. So over here you can directly select this as mid to support. Now here you can directly import what is your ith geometry and what is your jth geometry, considering the variation to be provided. Right. So now here, as I say, my geometry is going to change from mid to support, so I can directly import my size as mid section. So I'll just import this. So coming to the jth geometry, so I'll just hit on import. So I'll just select my support section. So I can just select import. So now automatically those properties would be taken up by the program. So now if you come to variation, what variation you are desired with, either you want a linear variation or you need a parabolic variation, you can just choose from this particular variation. So I'm just keeping this as linear. So now I'll just set the offset to as center top, and I'll just click on OK. So I'll hit on apply. Similarly, I will define one more section where my transition is taking from support to mid. Right. Over here I can directly select. So now my ith geometry would now be support. Right. So I'll just import this as support, and now my jth geometry would turn to mid. So I'll just import this, keeping the remaining definition to be same. Okay, so I'll just click on apply. Right. So now in order to create your tapered pier cap, so I'll be assigning those in as solid rectangle section just by giving the dimensions for the rectangular section. So I'll just give the name as pier cap left, or I can just give simply p cap left. So over here you can directly enter the dimensions as 2 meter, 1.5, this as 1.25, this as 1.5. Right. So again I will just say, set the offset to as center top. So I'll just click on OK. Right. So I'll just click on apply. So this is for my left part. Then similarly I will just create for the right part. So here you just need to reverse the dimensions. So here just 2, 1.5, that's it. So now I have created all my transition sections. So I'll just click on apply. So now I will create the last section, that is our PS section. So for that I will just come to this DP user tab, and from the drop down list I will just select this as solid round section, solid rectangle section. And now here you can give the name as pier. So either you can just choose from the DB user, or you can directly give the user specific. So I'm just giving this as 1.5 as 1.5. Right, keeping the offset to be at center. I'll just click on OK. So I'll just close this. So this completes my section property definition. Now coming to the geometry generation part. So over here you can use this node element tab to create entire your geometry of the bridge. Right. So now I will create a node first of all using create node option. So I just specify the coordinates for my coordinate input using coordinate input. So prior that MIDAS civil follows your longitudinal as x-axis, transverse as y, and vertical as your z-axis. So I would be inputting the coordinate with respect to my global coordinate axis, which can be seen from the status tab as well, indicating as U and G. So U refers to your user coordinate system and G refers to your global coordinate system. Right. So I'll just create a node at the 0,0th location. So you can just check that one node has been created. So I'll just close this. Now with the help of the extrude command, I will completely generate my line model rather than going a two-step process where you need to translate the nodes and in between that you need to create the elements. So that is quite a tedious task. But with the extrude command you can quickly generate your line model in a single go. So come to extrude command. Now here you can directly select extrude type as node to line element. Here you can directly specify the material and the section definition. I'm just selecting M50 mid section. Now here you can directly specify what is the translation type, whether equal distance or unequal distance. Right, so you can just type over here as unequal distance. So since your geometry is where you have different types of sections involved, so you can accordingly specify those intervals. Right, so I'm just selecting the axis to be S. Right, with this particular direction my bridge would be extruded. So I'm just specifying the distances in this fashion. So 2 at the rate 0.25, again comma. So I am entering this as in terms of relative distances. 39 at the rate 1, again 2 at the rate 0.5, 44 at the rate 1, 2 at the rate 0.5, again 39 at the rate 1, 2 at the rate 0.25. So now as could be checked, I have divided the entire 125 meter into various parts. So as could be seen, I have entered this distance as 2 at the rate 0.25. It specifies that my 0.5 meter is divided into two parts, each of 0.25 meter. So prefix will denote the number of elements, suffix will denote the distance. So this is the relative distance. It means that after 0.5, 39 elements should be created at a distance of 1 meter. Right. So before applying, we need to make ensure that the respective node and the element is selected. Right. So you can use this selection tabs over here and you can directly hit on apply. Right. So now as can be checked, my entire model geometry is created. Right. So now you would be creating the support nodes over here to define your support bearing nodes. So now I have defined this particular section considering the offset to be center top, which can be seen over here by your line element is placed at the center top location. Right. So now I would be using the translate feature to create nodes or translate node from the top position to directly transfer at this particular respective locations. So I will just select the elements. I will just select the nodes first. So I'm just selecting the mid nodes or the support nodes. Right. So once I select these nodes, so as could be checked, this will be visible in this particular node cursor. So if you wish to directly type the element node number, you can directly type the node number and press enter. So automatically the nodes would be highlighted or selected directly. So now here you can directly enter the distances. So my bridge bearing location is offset to 1.9 meter offset to the center line of the bridge. So I'm just giving y direction as 1.9 and depth as -3. So first of all, let's try to extrude in the negative y direction. So I'm just specifying this as -1.9. So I've already selected the nodes. So I'll just click on apply. So now the nodes will get copied to this respective locations, right? So as now these same nodes can be again selected now, which could be further copied to the other right part of the structure. So I'll just specify over here as 3.8, 0, 3.8, 0. So I'll click on apply. So now here you can check that. So the top bearing node should be created at these locations. Now again with the help of translate command, you can create the bottom bearing nodes as well to simulate your depth of your bearing. So I'm just keeping the depth of my bearing as 0.1 meter. So I'll just click on apply. So now in order to create your substructure, so I'll be selecting this particular node over here. So I'll just turn off this hidden view. So I'll just select this particular node. So I'll just translate this in this particular direction. Now with the help of this particular node, I can directly quickly extrude my geometry. So I'll just select this as M40, section to be as peer cap left. Now here you can directly specify the distances is in equal or unequal distances in Y direction. Here you can enter the distances as such. So I'm entering here as 0.6, comma 1.15, comma 2 at the rate 0.75, comma 1.15, again 0.6. Right. So once I enter this distances, I will just select that particular node again, and I will just click on apply. So now that particular line element would be created at the location. I have just extruded the line element, right? So now I will just delete the unnecessary elements over here. So with the delete tab, I'll just unselect this. Here I can just directly hit on apply, so that automatically the unnecessary elements would be removed. So now again I will just try to extrude my peer element. So I'll just select this peer. Here you can directly specify the height of the peer as -10. So I'm just selecting this particular node over here. So click on apply. So you can just go to this elevation view. So as can be checked, so that particular complete peer cap and peer would be generated. I'll just close this. So now in order to create the peer over here, peer cap and peer over here, so rather than creating again, I will just use this translate feature under node element tab to copy entirely my geometry at the location. So I'll just specify over here as 45. I'll just use this mode as copy. Now here you can directly select this particular option to intersect node element, and as well as to copy whatever the element and the node attributes at the respective locations. So I'll just select my peer cap elements only, right? So so now I have selected this only the bottom nodes, right? So you can just remove this, and can be seen that only this particular part needs to be copied at that particular location, right? So just copy this and click on apply, right? So now automatically the peer sections would be copied at this particular location. So now as could be checked, there would be certain modeling checks we can perform it, like check duplicate elements and node. So as can be checked, if the nodes and the elements are duplicated, it will be automatically deleted. So now we will just try to renumber the elements, right? So you can just go to this node element tab. So over here you can just choose this renumber node element option. You can directly select this node element cursor. You just select the type of selection to be all, and here you can directly set this as your first, second and the third global preference. So I'll just keep it as it is, and I'll just click on apply. So now automatically all your node and element number would be renumbered. Okay. So this completes our section generation, so section and geometry generation part. Now coming to the section assignment part, so we'll be assigning or changing different sections for different tabs. So first we have the diaphragm section, then we have the support section, and next we have the tapered section and the mate section. So we'll see how we can assign this or change the geometry just with the drag and drop feature. So you can just go to this particular option, right? So now here you can use, with the help of select single option, So you can just use this select single option. So you can just activate this as well. So I'm just selecting this diaphragm section elements, right? So I'm just selecting this diaphragm section elements. So with that, you can just drag and drop this diaphragm from the tree menu to directly the model window. So automatically those section properties will be automatically taken by the program, right? Similarly, you can just inactivate this, right? So with the inactivation, you can specify the next 3 elements from both the ends as your support section. So this is 3 meter section again this is 3 meter, this is 3 meter from the support section, right? So over here again next 3 meter as your support. So now here you can directly drag and drop this support section to the model window, so automatically there those support section would be taken by the program. So you can just inactivate that, so that accordingly you can assign the rest of the section. So again you can just select the next 3 meter span, right? That is your tapered definition or your support definition, the transition section definition which you would be giving. So this is where your support is going to change from your support to mid, right? So you'll be assigning directly with the help of the tree menu. So you just need to provide this support to mid, just drag and drop this again. Similarly from this side, the next 3 meter, again 3 meter and 3 meter. So by mistakenly if you are selected, so you can also use this unselect tab option to unselect the elements, right? So just select mid to support, right? Now here you will be changing with, I will just activate all this. Now here you can just change this peer cap elements. So just so here you can just select the peer cap left elements and remaining is your peer cap right. So I'll just turn on the render view. So now here you can check that this particular definition that you would be seeing over here, so this is due to your tapered tab definition. So we'll be grouping this different elements with the help of tapered group option. So you can just go to this properties tab, come to tapered group option. Now first let's try to create the taper group for your peer cap elements. So you can use the second tree menu for your selection options. So here you can just give peer cap left and you can just right click on this. So double click on this particular peer cap left section and you can just click on add. So automatically those tapering would be taken by the program. Similarly for your peer cap right, so just double click on peer cap right, so just click on add, right? Similarly for your mid to support, so just double click on this mid to support option, so automatically those section would be selected. So I'll just click on add. Similarly for your support to mid, right? Sorry, this is support to mid, so I'll just click on add. So this completes my section assignment as well as the support generation for my tapered sections as well, right? So once the entire geometry is generated, so now we can very well update the notional size of the members using this change property option. So you can just go to this change property. So you can just select all the elements and click on apply. So if you wanted to check what notional size the program has adapted, so you can just refer to this second tree menu over here. So now you can just right click and make tables. So now here from the tables you can check the notional size for the different elements has been updated. So just close this. So now this completes my section assignment. Coming to the next part, that is your construction stage groups definition and the boundary definition. So now in order to create groups, so you can just toggle to this group tab from the tree menu. So you can just right click and use this new three dot button. So now here you can directly create different structures, boundary as well as load group in order to activate them into the construction stages. So structures group is especially dedicated to the construction stage analysis for the sequential construction of the bridge, where each part of the total structure erected in stages. So let's say for span 1, span 2 and span 3. So that would be erected in stages, so that we need to categorize them equally, right? So I'll just create the group over here as CS construction stage, right? So I will just update as 0 to 3. So automatically all the three groups for my structures group would be created. So I'll just close this. Similarly, you can just create the boundary group again using this new three dot button. So over here I'll just give this as one substructure group. I will add up. Then I will add a boundary group. Coming to boundary group, I will just create 3 boundary group. So I'll just add 1 to 3. So 3 boundary groups would be automatically created. So I'll just close this. On similar lines, you can create for the load groups as well. So I'll create one for sulfate. I'll click on add. Then I will add a superimposed dead load. Click on add. Then for the pre-stressing, I would be giving the 4 set of pre-stressing for each span, total constituting of 24 tendons, right? For that I will be creating 4 different groups for each of the group, right? So I will just give PS1. For the PS1 refers to pre-stress and 1 refers to span 1. Okay, so for that I have 4 groups of tendons. So I'll just add up this. Similarly for the second span, similarly for your third span, right? So I've created this particular pre-stressing group in order to stress those particular tendon in the respective groups. So I will better explain in the construction stage analysis when it comes to construction stage analysis. So just close this. So now coming to the construction stage description. So we have the very first construction stage where we have the 40 meter and next 8 meter where we have the expansion joints, right? So for the second construction stage, we have the second span to be erected for next 37 meter and again 8 meter. And third, we have the third construction stage where we have the next span to be erected, right? So now coming over here. So in order to create the additional construction joint over here, we need to divide those particular element at the respective locations. So you can directly select element number which is at the 8 meter distances from the support position, right? So in order to divide those particular elements, so I will just select element number 61 and 107. I'll just activate this. So those are at a distance of 8.5. So we need to divide to create the 8 meter additional construction joint over here. So I'll just activate those, right? So now I'll just go to node element tab over here and I will just use this divide function. So in order to divide in 2 equals distances, so I'll just use this. I'll just click on apply. So now here you can check that one additional element would be created in between that. So I'll just activate all. So I'll just close this. Now in order to categorize, or in order to define the different structures group, in order to assign the different nodes and different elements to the different structure group, first we need to select the groups priorly. We need to select the elements priorly, and then we need to assign them individually. So at the very first, we'd be assigning the group for CS structures group first. So for that, I'll just select all the bottom support nodes, or that can be selected from here also, right? So I'll just select this. Now here you can directly drag and drop this CS1 group into the model window, so that automatically the node and element will be taken by the program. Similarly, again, you can directly also type into the model window. So like say for so 1 to 61 I will type. So I'll just click on enter. So this is your very first element span, right? You can just unselect this, since I would be taking only the span. So here I will directly enter the element numbers. So 11 to 61. So I'll just press on enter, right? So automatically those elements would be selected. Over here I will directly type the element number as 11 to 61. I'll just press on enter. So I'll just activate this. I'll just use this select all option. Again, I can just assign it using the right click and assign option, or you can directly drag and drop into the model window, right? So automatically the first span would be automatically categorized over here. Now coming to the second span, or the CS2 group assignment, you can directly type over here 62, 207 and 141. So you can just press enter, so that the next span would be selected, right? So you can directly assign this as using assign option, or directly using drag and drop feature. And third, the very last is your next span, that is 108 to 140 and 142. So I'll just press enter. I'll just activate, select this and assign this third CS groups, right? So this completes my structure group assignment. Now coming to the boundary definition. So I just go to this boundary tab, and now here I can first of all my connection I would be making is through the top line element to the top bearing node. So now coming to the boundary definition. So first our link connection would be from the top line element to my top bearing nodes, and then I would be connecting using this rigid link option, right? So my elastic link would now be simulated using the elastic links. So let me first try to create the elastic links, right? So here you can go to this boundary tab. So in the boundary tab you can go to this rigid link. First you can directly select over here as boundary group 1. So here you can directly select your master node, master slave connection. Basically rigid link connection or the master slave connection will form a 3D deformable rigid body, right? So now here you can directly select rigid body. You can also use this copy rigid link option feature to copy at the respective location. So I'm just copying this rigid link at the very first span, since the first span would be erected, right? So now here I will just select my top bearing nodes. So I'll just click on apply, so that automatically my rigid link will get copied at the respective locations as well, right? Similarly for the second span, over here I can go to this definition. Here I can directly choose the master node, and I can directly select with my top bearing node as my slave nodes. So you can directly select the nodes. Here I will just change the boundary group as BG2, and I will just remove this copy rigid link option, since I need to assign only for this particular group. So just click on apply. Similarly for your third span, you can directly select your master node again over here, changing the boundary group to be as BG3. Now here you can select the top bearing nodes, and I'll just click on apply. So now this completes my superstructure rigidity. So in order that we need to have link this particular peer cap to this peer element using again the rigid connection. So I'll just change my boundary group to support, sub-support. So now here I can just choose this as my master node and the peer cap node as my slave nodes. So just click on apply. Similarly, you can also use this copy element to copy the ring at this particular location. So just click on this, apply. Right. So this completes my rigid link assignment. Right. So now in order to form the elastic links, you can go to this elastic link option. So before that, we can check that this is my general layout of my bearing, right? So where we have this free bearing, wherever I have the longitudinal direction, that is free to, if this is longitudinally guided, so this is transversely guided. Again, this is free type of bearing, again this is longitudinally, this is fixed type of bearing, right? So in order to simulate bearing, so we would be creating we will be assigning different elastic links. So the main idea is we need to simulate the bearings in terms of stiffness. The idea behind is we can just try to simulate the stiffness of that particular bearing, giving the relevant stiffness or restraining in that particular direction. So how we can do that? Let's see. So now here you can directly come to this particular tab over here, just select support. Now here you can directly assign the stiffness of very high rigidity, giving the stiffness of 1 to the e power 8. Then can give here as the minimum stiffness in transverse direction. So this SDY will denote your transverse and SDZ will denote the longitudinal direction. So we are inputting the stiffness in the local direction of the elastic link. So SDX is your vertical stiffness, right? So now here you can come down. So you can click on this. Now you can use this again SDZ. You can enter the 100 kilonewton per meter. So this is the minimum stiffness, which means that we are making it axially and transversely guided, making vertically to be restrained, right? So now here you can use this copy elastic link option. Here you can directly specify the distance as 39.75 and 84.75. yeah. So here you can directly give the two nodes option. So you can directly give the two nodes option, first and second. So automatically the links would be get copied at the respective locations, right? So now likewise for the right end of the bearing, we can since it is transversely restrained, again we can assign a very high stiffness value in that particular direction, and again using this two nodes option you can copy at the respective locations as well, right? So now this link would be copied to this entire span or the mid bridge support as well, right? So coming to the mid support or the mid peer support, over here we have a fixed type of bearing at the either end. So over here you can directly give stiffness of very high magnitude, giving the restraint in all the three directions, right? So I'm just fixing this particular as my fixed type of bearing. So I'll just sorry for this, I will just uncheck this, since the rigid link no need to be copied at the respective location since we have already assigned it. So with the two nodes, I'll just select the first node and the last node. And now coming to the right end, over here, since it is transversely guided, So I just give the minimum stiffness in SDY direction, and I just assign this stiffness, right? So this completes my elastic link definition. Now coming to the support definition, so I would just select only the bottom nodes. So I will just zoom in. So I'll just selecting this support nodes. Similarly over here, I'm just selecting the bottom nodes and my support nodes, right? So I'll just close this. So I'll just go to define supports. So now here you can just select the boundary group as support, and now here you can directly restrain the degrees of freedom in translation as well as the rotational. So I'm just fixing all this. So I'm just clicking on this D all and R all. So you just click on apply. So this completes my boundary group definition. Coming to the next part, that is your static loads and moving loads as per the IRS bridge rules. So we'll see how we can create different types of loads onto the structure. So now here you can directly go to load tab. So we'll just try to create the different static loads. So come to static load. So over here you can directly create self-weight and giving the load type as construction stage load. So you can just click on construction stage load. Similarly for your different SIDL loads. So varying course is there, crash barrier, right? Then you have the pre-stress. Again, that would be construction stage load itself. And then you have the temperature rise and fall, right? So you can directly create those. Then you have the temperature fall case, and again the gradient case, temperature gradient rise, so you can add up this, and this is the fall case. So you can create the multiple load cases just by assigning the load type and load cases. So this completes our static load cases. Now we'll see how we can generate or assign the magnitude for each of the load cases generated. So coming to the self-weight, so I'm just giving into the load command. So here you can directly select the load case name, and you can just group this as self-weight, giving the factor as -1, and then you can directly click on add. So this added my self-weight to the structure. Then coming to the various elemental loads, so you can directly come to element. Now here you can directly select as varying course load. Now the group would be your SIDL, do a superimposed dead load, giving the uniform loads over here. Now you can just select the application of your load in global Z direction, giving the magnitude or the intensity of the varying course load. So I'm just giving this as -16.5. So for that I will be selecting the girder or elements for which the loads to be applied. So I'll just click on apply. Sorry, the direction would be -16.5. Again I will use this. Yeah, so this would be the application for my varying course load. Similarly for assignment of your varying course load, I will just change the load case to crash barrier, and here I can just select the group to be same. Now here, since my crash barrier loads which are acting eccentric to the bridge centroid of the bridge, so I will just provide the eccentricity in order to take the care of the additional moment which is generated due to the eccentricity. So I'll just select this as offset. So I'll just give the offset as my 4.25. So I'll use this select all option again, and giving the magnitude over here as -8. Let's say I'm giving the magnitude as -8 kilonewton per meter. So just click on apply. So automatically the load will be taken by the program. Similarly for the negative eccentricity, so I'll again selecting the same. Likewise, you can add the complete crash barrier load onto the structure, right? So now coming to the pre-stress load definition. So first of all, we'll come to this temperature pre-stress definition. Over here, we'll assign the tendon property first, right? I will give this as tendon. Now here I can just select the type of tendon, that is post tension. I can just select the property from the drop down list. Now here I can directly select what is my standard stand diameter. So I will just select this as 13. So if I wanted to obtain 19T13 as my standard anchorage system, then accordingly I can adopt this. So I'll just hit on OK, and I can provide the duct diameter as 110 mm. And then for the relaxation coefficient calculation, I can directly select what are all my code that needs to be considered. Then you can enter the ultimate and yield strength and the coefficient of friction for your consideration of the losses. Then the anchorage slip could be entered and the type of bond, whether it is bonded or unbonded. So I'll just click on OK. So I'll close this. So in order to now again, once the tendon property is defined, we will move towards definition of the profile. So here there are three ways you can input the tendon profile. The very first way is directly inputting the tendon profile over here. So I'll just explain rather. So I'll click on add. So once you added this, one dialog box will appear. So based on the profile which you need to incorporate, you can directly also select the profile, or you can directly input manually as well. This is the first way where you can manually input the coordinates over here. So let's say I wanted to create the first profile. I'm just giving the name as A1L. Over here I can just select the tendon. So I will just select the element directly as 11 to 61. Just selecting the 3D and the round type, right? So once you can directly enter the coordinates, or else you can directly copy paste from this particular Excel sheet as well. So I will be directly copy pasting this particular tendon coordinates. I have already generated this coordinate into the Excel sheet. So I will just copy this for the entire half span. That is, I will just use this Control C. For the first span I'm entering this, right? So making sure that when you are entering the coordinates, that has to be into the single unit system, right? So since I have generated this into the mm, so the unit system has to be in mm. So I'll just turn into this unit system to be compatible. Otherwise the coordinates will get converted to that system. So I'll just copy paste this. So just copy paste these coordinates. So once for the first 48 meter span, the coordinates have been generated. So now here you will directly enter what is your reference element to be generated, or what is your start of your element where your profile is going to start. So here you can directly select the element for which the profile will start. I will just directly select from the model window. Automatically the element would be taken, the start element would be taken. Now in order that since as we have seen this, our web is inclined to certain angle, right? So but once you are entering this coordinate, this is the straight coordinate, right? So you have this x, this y and z. So y over here is constant, but since we have the inclination, certain inclination of the tendon towards the web, so we'll be entering this rotation angle. So this is minus 11.31. So I just click on apply. So as can be checked, the profile will now be inputted into this particular first span, right? So now click on apply. So this is I have already added this. Now similarly, secondly, I will add this. This is A1 right. So I will just remaining definition to be same. So I just copy the second coordinates over here. That is your A1 right coordinates. So I will just come over here and directly paste it into this particular model tab, right? So now my rotation angle is in clockwise sense, so I will enter this as positive, right? So I'll just click on OK, right? So now I have added this particular two profiles. Likewise, we have to add four more profiles for the first span, right? So in total 8 profiles we need to add for first span. Similarly, in total 24 span for the 125 meter span, right? So now you can try to complete the rest of the definitions, right? So I've added the two profiles over here. Now coming to the pre-stress input, so you can just go to tendon pre-stress. Over here you can directly select the pre-stress value, right? So let me try to open the model where I have already defined all the profiles. Yeah, so in this I have already defined all the 24 profiles over here, right? So now here I can directly go to load temperature pre-stress. So now here I can directly select all the profiles. So first let me try to select the load case. This is as your pre-stress. Now I won't be grouping this just because later I can just try to group from the table itself. So I'll just select all the profiles over here and I can directly assign the pre-stress value from both the ends as 1395 MPa. So you can just click on add. Okay, so I have already added this, so you can just close this. You can just add this and close. So now here you can directly go to this pre-stress table. So from now here you can directly change to the group's load group for which the tendon is located. So rather you can directly take this particular table to the Excel sheet where you can directly change, copy paste this particular entire data into the Excel sheets, change it, modify it, and again paste it back to the Excel, MIDAS Civil itself. So this also works over here. So right now if I take, this is your PS1 and the very first A1 profile refers to first group. Similarly for the second profile it refers to the second group itself for the first, second, third and fourth span, right? So which is indicated against A, B, C, D. Okay. So now coming to the temperature definition. So first of all I will assign the elemental temperature. So I'll just change this as temperature rise case. So you don't have to group in this since it will be a serviceable load. So I'll entering the final temperature, final rise of temperature as 25. Here I can directly select for all the elements, right? So for all the elements I will be assigning the temperature. So I'll just click on apply. Similarly I will be assigning the non-linear temperature as per the code using the beam section temperature definition. Okay. So I'll just click this initial view option in order to go back to previous view, right? So I'll just yeah, so coming to the temperature beam section temperature assignment as per the code, right? So over here we will be giving the non-linear temperature. So let me try to undisplay this profile. Yeah, so you can directly select add type. Now in order to consider the section type, where you can directly select the PSC composite or PSC or the composite section, where your effective width for your temperature calculation will be taken up by the program, right? Now here you can select the reference for the assignment of the temperature. So as per the provisions provided by the code, where you need to consider the different temperature variations. So let me try to focus this. Yeah, so this is how we would be assigning the temperature differences for positive temperature differences and the negative temperature differences for different heights. So for H1 again it is 0.15 meter, and H2 again it is 0.25, and H3 is 0.115 again, right? So these distances, the respective change of the temperature we need to assign. So let's see how we can assign this. So now here you can go back to this beam section temperature definition. You can select PSC composite section. Here you can just give the reference as either top or bottom. Now in order to calculate the effective width, you can just use this section type. So automatically whatever the material reference is there, that will be automatically taken. Similarly for the section width as well. Now here you need to enter what is the different height, that is H1 and H2, and the respective change in temperature. So if I say from 0 to 150, my temperature change would now be from 17.8 to 4 degrees Celsius, right? So this is the positive change in the temperature for my superstructure elements. So here I can directly select my superstructure elements, right, using the material. Now first of all, let me try to add before selecting. So this is the first temperature difference which I'm adding. Now second block is from 150 to 250, just because I'm entering the relatively from the top position. So now it is changing from 4 to 0. So I'll just add up. Here again you can add for the rest third block of the temperature, that is the H3. So it is 2850 and this is 3000. Now again the temperature change is from 0 to 2.1. So I'll just add up this. So once you have added all this temperature, now you can have already selected the elements, you can directly click on apply, right? Similarly, the temperature load will get applied. Now same can be done for the negative temperature differences. So now this completes our temperature definitions and the static loads. Now coming to the moving load definitions as per the IRS bridge rules, right? So again, this is a 3-step process. I will just click on initial view to undisplay the rest of the things. So now coming to the moving load definitions, so I'll just come to this load tab. I'll just come to moving load. Again, here I will just select the code as India. Again, it is a 3-step process where we will be defining the vehicles first. Then we would be assigning the traffic line lanes, and third we will be combining different moving load cases, right? So first let's try to define the vehicles first. So I'll just click on add standard, right? So here you can directly select the highway or the railway loading. For now today we will be considering the bridge rules, the definition for the as per the IRS. So I'll just select the IRS. Here you can just select the different vehicular type based on the different types of gauges that are available, right? So either the BG, MG or the NG, right? So I'll just select as broad gauge. And here you can apply the different vehicles that are specified as per the IRS bridge rules, referring to 25 ton or the DFC loading, okay? So over here you can directly select the combination. For now I am just considering the DFC loading over here, the 32.5 ton axle. Right. So respective all the vertical loads and the UDL will be automatically taken by the program. Similarly, the longitudinal force that are required, so that will be again standard definition will be considered, right? So I'll just add up only one vehicle for now. I'll just add this. I'll just close this. Now next step is moving on to definition of your traffic line lanes. So I'll just click on add. Over here I will just give this as DFC loading, DFC lane 1 for my broad gauge. So over here you can specify the eccentricity. So I'm just giving over here as 1.15 meter, right? Now wheel spacing, I will enter this as 1676, that is my standard broad gauge spacing. I'll enter the span length over here as, in order to calculate our impact factor. So I'm just specifying the span length, or else you can directly specify the impact factor or the CDA value. Now here you will be selecting the vehicular load distribution type as lane element. Then I will just select the moving direction as both. Here I can just give the direction of my traffic direction along the longitudinal direction, right? So I'll just select the first point over here and I will just drag the cursor to my end span, that is the traffic direction which I am specifying, right? So I'll just click on apply, right? So now my traffic line would now be assigned to this, right? So I've assigned one lane over here for my DFC loading. Similarly, I will create one more lane for the second DFC loading, right? So in order that you can also assign different loadings over here. So for now I'm just considering only the one standard loading for my broad gauge. So I'm just change the eccentricity in the other part of the structure, keeping the rest definition to be same. So I'll just delete the table, priorly creating a new vehicle lane. So first I'll just select the first node and I'll just enter the last node. So just click on OK, right? So now I have created the two lanes for my standard BG loading, that is your broad gauge loading, okay? So now coming to the third step, that is your moving load case definition. So you can just come to moving load cases. So click on add. Over here, you can add name over here as DFC load L1 and L2. So I'll just remove this auto load light combination. So I'll click on add. So here you can directly specify the minimum number of loaded lanes and maximum number of loaded lanes, right, for the respective vehicle. So I'm just specifying minimum to be 1 and maximum to be 2. So I'll just click on OK. So I'll just click on OK. So now this completes my moving load definition. Now we will see about the how we can define the construction stages in Midas Civil. Okay, so these are all the various construction stages that we have. So for the first stage, we have the substructure, that is where your pier and pier cap and the abutment support should be activated at the age of 28 days. Then the very next stage, where your first span would be launched and your structural element should be activated with the times duration of 7 days, right? Then the second span would be activated, and consecutively the third span would be activated. And finally, your last stage, where we have the 10,000 days duration for your consideration of your long-term effect, right? So now coming back to the program again, so how we'll see how we can define the various construction stages here in Midas. So I'll just come to load, I'll just come to construction stages. So I'll just come to define construction stage. I'll click on add. I'll just give name over here as CS1. Now here you can select the different structural groups, the structure group in terms of elemental list that would be displayed over here. So you have the different boundary and the load group as well. So from the element tab, you can directly select the CS0, that is your first substructure group, where you can specify the age of concrete element to be activated for the duration of your span, which is of the 1 day we have considered. So what we are considering is your element would have already attained 28 days prior to the start of the construction stage 1. So sooner your construction stage 1 is going to get over into the very first day itself only, right? So I'll just click on add. So coming to the boundary tab, so I'll just activate the boundaries of my substructure, that is under the support group. So I'll just click on add again over here. Similarly for the load group, in this case only my self-weight of the structure would be predominantly acting. So I'll just add only the self-weight of the structure. So I'll just click on add. So now I'll just click on apply. So now here you can check that my construction stage will get added up, right? So now coming to the second construction stage, so I'll just give as CS2 and I will just specify the duration as to be 7 days. Now in this case my first span would now be activated. So where I will just specify the first span elements, I will just activate the first span element at the duration of 21 days at the maturity of 21 days. So I'll just give the age as 21 and click on add, right? Now coming to the boundary, so over here my first span support should be activated wherever the rigid links as well as my elastic links are there. So those will be activated under this BG group tab. So I will be activating this under the deform. So I'll just add up this. Similarly coming to the load tab, so here you have the stressing sequence for the first span. So where your first level tendon, second level tendon, third and fourth, likewise it will be stressed. So I will just select the first level tendon as your PS1, right? So one thing over here, so in the activation tab you have only the two options, that is your first and last option. So in order to create the additional steps in between the first and last, so you can use this additional step option to generate your multiple steps. So here you can directly select add multiple steps over here. Let's say in terms of this, in terms of days you can enter, let's say you have a 6-hour span in between the first and the second pre-stressing, so you can relevantly enter in terms of days, right? So you can add up this. So I'm just giving an example over here. So let's say I have a PS1 which is to be activated within the very first 6 hour span. So I can just select this particular step and I will just click on add, right? Similarly for your second stress, the second strand to be activated, so you can again select the second step itself, right? So likewise you have to add for your construction sequences and the construction durations respectively. Same could be followed to enter for your CS2 and CS3 as well. So now in this I have defined all the construction stages over here, considering from CS0 to CS4, right? So I have considered the last stage to be 10,000 days to consider for your long-term effect. So I'll just close this. So now here you can come to this moving analysis control option. Over here you can just go to this moving load. Now here you can directly assign the number of elements to be generated, as well as your force and frame analysis option, where you need to obtain the normal plus concurrent force results, right? So here you can just select the type of impact factor calculation as RC. So I'll just click on OK, right? Similarly for the construction stage analysis control can also be given, wherein you can also check your beam section property. Either you need to consider it as constant or you need to consider with the change with tendon profile. So if you wish to additionally categorize the different load cases apart from the dead load, then you can use these dead load cases to be distinguished from dead load for the CS output function, right? So wherein you can directly specify the different load cases. So whatever the cases you are going to categorize, so those results would be obtained separately as you in the construction stages itself, right? So I'll just click on OK. So now in order to design your section, we need to input certain reinforcement in order to consider the stiffness of the reinforcement. So that could be done using this properties tab. Go to section properties, section manager, go to reinforcement. Over here you can directly select the mid section, right? So here select multi-add option. Here you can directly add up. Let's say for centroid you are giving in the top position. Then here you will be entering the coordinates. This as the spacing or the cover from the top reinforcement, the top fiber. Spacing again as 0.25. Sorry, this is number I will be entering as 35. Spacing to be 0.25. Now for the reinforcement input, we can directly input the reinforcement from the properties. Come to section manager, use the reinforcement tab. Over here you can directly select the section, use this multi-add option. You can directly select there. Over here as centroid, this as top. You can provide the cover over here from the top fiber. You can enter the number as 35. Again the spacing as 0.25. Diameter you can directly enter from this as P20. Again for your the bottom reinforcement, so I'll just select the reference as bottom this time. So again the spacing and the number of bars to be 19, and spacing again over here as 0.25, and the diameter to be as P16, right? So you can just click on OK. So this is for your definition of your longitudinal reinforcement for the top and bottom reinforcement which would be added, right? So now coming to the shear reinforcement, so here you can add the shear reinforcement also, giving the pitch as -1.5, angle to be 90 degree. Over here you can enter the total diagonal reinforcement area just by specifying the one legged or two legged, right? So you can directly choose the standard diameter from here. Let's say I'm entering this as 4 legs of P20, so I'll just select this as P20 and I will enter the number as 4. So this will constitute my total area for the diagonal reinforcement. Similarly for your torsional reinforcement you can consider giving the pitch over here as 0.15, and your area for your for the web and the flange location. So if I'm just selecting P20, this as 1. Similarly for your thickness, so you can add up this all the reinforcement information for your consideration of your stiffness, section stiffness in that particular direction. So I'll just click on apply. So automatically this reinforcement will get added to this particular section. So you can also copy this particular reinforcement to the other sections as well using this copy function. So I just click on OK. So just apply this. So I'll just close this, right? So this completes our all the definitions for the modeling. So now we'll be performing the analysis. So let me perform this. So I'll just go to analysis part. So I'll just use this perform analysis. So I'll just open a model where I have already analyzed it. So in order to save the time. So now here first is we can form the different load combinations. So here you can directly go to load combination part, right? So here you can directly go to concrete design. So now here you can manually create your load combinations, or you can directly auto generate using this auto generation feature. So here you can directly select, you can directly select this as IRS, right? So all the possible load combination as per the IRS bridge rules will be created by the program. So I'll just click on OK. So as could be checked, all the possible load combination for the strength as well as the ULS as well as the SLS condition have been generated, right? So I'll just close this. So now we come to next part, that is the result interpretation and the PSC design. So now in the results part, we would be seeing with the different result for different load cases and different load combinations. So first is reaction. So you can check the reaction for the different load conditions for the different load cases. So if I select with this, you can also turn on this values and legend part as well. So where you are in actual, you can see for the different load cases what is different reactions that are being there for the supports, right? Similarly also you can just check the deformed shape of the structure or the deformed structure shape. So you can just select the deform, you can just turn on this values and the legend. You can just check for which component you need to check the design, you need to check the result. So you can just click on apply. Okay, so you can also see that from the displacement contour as well, what are all the different deformation values that you are getting. Similarly for the forces, you can just check the beam diagrams as well, the different beam diagram for the different load cases as well, right? So this is your dead load moment at the very first span. So then you have the first span, the very first construction stage, the next construction stage, similarly for your third construction stage, right? So likewise you can check or interpret for the different load cases and different load combinations as well, right? So similarly your FX component will give you the axial force, right? And similarly for your, if you wanted to check for the vertical shear, so you can just select the FZ. So now this will display your vertical shear. So these all the graphical result would be obtained very precisely in MIDAS, right? Similarly for stresses also you can check the stresses at different locations, the top and bottom location also you can check, right? So different state diagram can be checked, the axial and the bending stresses can be checked. So if you wanted to check for the bottom part, so bottom part stresses could also be checked, right? So now this is regarding your graphical interpretation, but what about if you wanted to say into the result tab? So you can just go to this result tab over here, you can directly select with the beam and you can just select this force and beam stress option. Then over you can directly select the dead load or the which case for which you are desired with and the number of elements for which you are looking in the results, and here you can also set the part, right? So if you wanted to see for all the stages or you wanted to see for only the min max results, so you can relevantly activate those parameters. So once you click on OK, so all the results would be displayed under this result tab. For the beam force, again the beam stress also you can see from different stages and different results, right? So if you wish to check this result to the Excel, you can just right click and you can directly export this result to this Excel using this export to Excel option, right? So now if you wanted to check the losses at the various stages, then you can just go to this tendon and you can just go to this tendon loss. So now the losses for the different cables would be displayed in this particular table. Both the instantaneous losses as well as the time dependent losses can be checked for the different stages as well, right? So now again, so coming to this moving tracer option, if you wanted to check the critical position of the vehicle onto your structure, so I will just go to this post CS and I will just select, I will just select the load case over here. I will just select any of the node. I will just select any of the node. So I'll just click on apply, right? So now this will give me the position of my vehicle for the critical result envelope, critical moving load envelope at this particular position, right? Similarly, you can just check for the other components as well, different results as well. Similarly, for the beam forces and results, also you can give any elemental results for which the results are to be obtained, right? So likewise, you can check with the different results for your static and the moving load results. So if you use this write min max load to file option, so all this moving load would be automatically converted to static load. It will be formed as a different static load over here, right? So now this completes our moving load result interpretation part. Now coming to the PSC design option, so we'll be seeing with the PSC design itself. So for PSC design generation, go to PSC tab. Over here, you can directly select the IRS code. So select parameters first. So for which output results you wanted to for which parameters you want the output for the results. So you can just consider this all tendon option, whether the construction type is segmental or the non-segmental. Similarly, you can select the output parameters for ULS and SLS. I'll just select all. So I'll just click on OK. So now I'll just select this PSC design material where I'll be entering the compressive strength of the material. So over here, I'll again select the IRS. And now I will just select the grade to be M50. And again, I will just select the rebar with reference to IRS code itself. So I'll just click on modify. Similarly, you can add up for the substructure as well. So since I'm going to design for the substructure also, you can add up those particular relevant materials, right? So you can add up this. So I'll just modify this and close this. So after that, you'll be assigning the position, design position. So here, if you wanted to select the typical elements to be designed, so you can just select those elements and you can directly click on apply. Similarly, for the position of the output parameters, so where you need to obtain those results, so you can again use this select previous option to select the previous elements. So I'll just click on apply again. Here you can just select the exposure class again for your serviceability criteria. So for the top and bottom also you can select differently. So I'll just click on apply, right? So once you have given all these parameters, so you can directly use this perform design option to design all your elements considering all your critical load envelopes. Okay, so I will just so now the design would now be completed. So I will just open a generated Excel report in order to show how the Excel report would be generated. So so this is the generated Excel sheet for the IRS complete IRS design, right? So for different loads, different load envelopes, program will calculate the ultimate stress and will accordingly provide the stress checks, right? So this could also be checked for ultimate bending resistance, shear resistance, and the torsion resistance, and the different cross section stresses at the different construction stages can also be checked, right? Similarly, it can be viewed in the tabular as well. Result table could also be checked from here. So you can also check the flexural and the tensile strength, whether it is okay or not good. So that could also be checked, right? So yeah, so this completes the webinar. So if you have any questions, kindly let us know so we can have certain questions.